All right. It's there's squirrels running around and things. It says it's preparing live stream,
Yeah,
setting up
yeah.
your meeting for YouTube Live.
I'm just refreshing the
Shows me
page. We'll let that get
shows
going.
live.
And we're live, gentlemen.
We are live.
Hey, hey, hey. I just found it here. Yeah, I'm still waiting for it to come through.
Same. I'm watching for the live logo to pop up here.
I got it on the top right of mine. I don't know.
I've
Maybe
got
it's
it up
just
on my
slowly
phone.
trickling in. Yeah.
It's the series of tubes.
Seriously.
Satellites connecting in outer space.
We good? That is a lot of coffee. Holy crap.
Where? I missed it. Oh yeah.
Full pot of coffee. It's just gonna be like, okay, let's just verify that we're live here, and then we'll get going. I don't know why I can't see it.
On YouTube, right?
Me either. I don't see it on your channel.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Well, if you are tuning in, hello. We're having some technical difficulties. We're gonna make sure we're live here in a minute, and then we're gonna get rolling. We'll do some introductions, and we'll have such a good time.
Well, remember that laptop I was on? Since I signed out of it, I am on YouTube watching the live stream on it.
Okay, well, if you can see it, I'll say it's happening then, okay?
That's what we're gonna base it on right now.
Good.
No, I can't see it, so I'm gonna take your word for it, man. Can anybody else see it?
Oh, I see it now.
See it?
Okay, yeah, it'll probably pop up for me here in a minute. Okay. Well,
Chicago
hey,
S4 gave us thumbs up.
All right, let's go ahead and get rolling then. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it. This is the Throttle Body Media podcast. This is our second episode. This week we're going to focus on content creators and on social media and promotion of events and things like that. So let me kind of take you through our panel, and then we'll kind of talk through everybody's background a little bit and everything, kind of get into this. So kind of going around the panel here. First, we've got AJ Keller of the car review guys from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Thanks for being here, AJ. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Then you'll recognize from last week, EddieX, straight out of Michigan, now here in Chicago. Welcome again.
Thank you.
Then we've got Elia. Elia, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name, but welcome from the Extalgic YouTube channel, man. I know I got a bunch of friends from out of town really excited to learn more about you. So welcome.
Sick. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Then we've got Anthony from Vivid Visual. Anthony's a guy I've been running into around the Chicago car scene who does a lot of stuff, both automotive and other types of YouTube and video content as well. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to supporting everyone.
Absolutely. Then we've got Tony from Urban City, Mr. Magic Whips himself. I know Tony both from events around town, as well as from B-Road Built, where he does things there as well. So welcome, Tony. Appreciate it.
What's going on?
And then last but not least, Mr. Jarvis, Josh Siryenko. Welcome, sir. Appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. So want to get into it. Before we do, just want to mention I've got my buddy Nicola now helping me out kind of behind the scenes here. Kind of as we go forward with these, I'll kind of get them more fancy, and we'll get some intro graphics and play some videos and things like that. We're sort of working into that, but I want to thank Nicola for helping me out, and I'm gonna make sure to put a link in the description to the video once we post it on YouTube permanently here after the live stream of his photography channel. He's been just blowing up and doing really cool things with photography on Instagram and Facebook. So you got to check him out for sure. So thanks a lot to Nicola for helping me out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into it now. So first things first, I want to kind of go around the panel and kind of talk about, explain to people in a couple of sentences, kind of like, what's the elevator pitch of your channel? Like, what's it about? And tell me a little bit about, your philosophy or style for your channel. I'm kind of interested in your perspective on, this is what I do, and this is kind of why I'm interested in, or kind of what got me into it. So kind of just some of the background and history of it, I would appreciate. And AJ, why don't we start with you?
Yeah. So really the background of my channel kind of started with two buddies, you know, and you see these, you know, YouTubers and you're like, man, you know, I love cars, want to see it. And that's what I want to do. So long story short, started the channel, hence Car Review Guys. They kind of didn't have as much interest. Cars are kind of their third passion, if you will. And so I just stuck with it. And after sticking with it, then, you know, slowly started growing a channel. And I kept thinking, you know, what can I do to keep getting it to the next level so I can keep, you know, kind of pursuing it. And, you know, that step was buying James or Stradman's Audi R8. And once I bought that, then that really helped, you know, get some subscription base on my channel. And here we are.
Yeah, and I know you're in the process of working on wrapping that, I think, and doing other mods to that as well at the moment.
I am, yeah. It's at the final stages of the wrap. The solid color is on. Now we're basically just working on a crazy one-of-a-kind design to the outside of it. And then after that, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I really want to single turbo it, but we'll see.
Well, I know a place that could help with that, but okay. Well, very cool. Thanks again for being here, and you know, cool to learn a little bit more. Eddie, let's turn to you now and kind of get a little bit of you know, kind of your background and whatnot.
I've been doing automotive YouTube videos since I was a freshman in college, so that was back in 2013. Was part of another channel that grew to a pretty good size on YouTube and went our separate ways. A lot of past history on YouTube, and I just love cars. As from a kid, I enjoyed seeing Corvettes go by, Ferraris, Mustangs, whatever they were, and got to experience driving a lot of different ones. And that passion kind of cascaded into doing more reviews, working with dealerships, subscribers, friends, family, manufacturers. At its core, I still enjoy experiencing a new car, evaluating it. I do have a mechanical engineering background, so some of the technical aspects, I worked at an OEM before. So getting to kind of see what different manufacturers, different models are providing, drive the cars, compare them. And then as with YouTube, it continuously evolves. So I started doing ownership perspective interviews where I get the actual owner of the car and talk about why they bought it, what they love and hate about it. And those have been pretty popular because not everybody gets to own a Ferrari. I can drive a Ferrari for a couple of days, but I don't get to own it. So it's an interesting perspective, and vlogs from attending events. YouTube it's been cool. As many of you guys have experienced, the growth and the audience and interacting with people, getting to meet people like you guys through these things is probably one of the biggest highlights of it. So that's kind of my quick background on me making car videos on the YouTube.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Anthony, let's go to you next.
So I didn't have any interest in cars at all. Actually, I was just more of a drive A to B type of guy. And it wasn't until my dad suggested, I actually had a Mitsubishi at the time, and it's a hatchback, 2008 Mitsubishi Eclipse. And he suggested that I need something bigger to put my film equipment in. So off I went for a new car, and I'm like, yeah, awesome, I'll get another car. So then I came across the Kia Stinger. He was more so saying like I should get like a truck or something like that. Well, I went and got another hatchback, just a little bit bigger, faster, sportier, and it's brand new to the car scene, obviously, with the Kia Stinger. They've never made a sports car before like this. So at first I started modding the car. I put like an intake in there and an exhaust. No, I think it was just an intake at first. And then I started thinking to myself, because people were commenting like, oh, like, could you show pictures of the install and stuff like that? And I was thinking, well, I have a film background. This is what I grew up doing, was filming, and that's my career. I should just start vlogging maybe. At first, I didn't want to show my face on camera. I just wanted to, you know, point it away. I was so nervous about that stuff. But the more I did it, the more I got comfortable in it. And that just led me to modding my car, just like doing everything that I can, and growing an audience base. And I love the fact that as I'm doing these things, because it's such a new market to this car, that people want to know how to do it as well, that I'm always getting questions and like inspiring other people that I have no idea that I'm even inspiring. So loving what I'm doing and the platform that has been created before me.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really big point too. You know, like everybody, what I love about some of your guys' channels is that I think you are highlighting, you know, kind of, you know, I don't want to say that there's like, you know, there's obviously all these channels with supercars and everything, and that's all well and good. Don't get me wrong, I love them too, you know, but there are so many people out there hungry for these different models and like these ultra fanboys of Subarus or of Genesis or of Corvettes or whatever the case might be, right? And tapping into that audience is so important. And I think just, you know, finding your people, so to speak, you know, I mean, like, and you didn't even know they were there. And then it's like all of a sudden your channel can blow up.
Yeah, I mean, I hopped into it at the perfect time. You know, it was a new car hitting the market and it just came out. Right place, right time. My dad threw out the idea of getting another car, and that's what really just launched me into developing what I have now with the channel.
Fantastic. Okay, very cool. Okay, Josh, let's go ahead and go to you next.
Great. Elevator pitch. Here we go. No, I honestly don't know where the whole YouTube thing even started, to be honest. I think I always had a channel to begin with, and I was more focused around like gaming stuff. I always been into cars since I was a kid. But I mean, the gaming stuff was something else that I did. And then, you know, one day I went on a racetrack with a Ferrari, and I thought to myself, I'm like, I should probably do video and focus YouTube channel stuff on just cars in general, because this is something that I have loved before video games and before any of that stuff. So honestly, I've been more focused on like personal career development than actually going out and doing YouTube content. And as I started to slowly realize recording video at, whether it be, you know, the Chicago Auto Show, or recording video at, you know, one of Urban City's car shows or something like that, I started really tinkering in my head about what is something that is more niche to, you know, something different than other people might not want to see, that they see every day on YouTube, right? So my idea was, let's hear other people's stories. And so that's where I started a kind of like a like, I guess a playlist, you could call it, right? All of us content creators know what that is. So when you create a playlist, you know, you name it something, and I named it Fueled Stories. And it sort of blossomed from there. It started out in our local high school. I interviewed one of the automotive instructors on a student teacher build that they were doing, and then from there I said to myself, this is a good idea, I need to do this more often. And then it just sort of kind of I mean, my channel is not big by no means, but when I started noticing it's something that I loved doing, at the same time, I didn't care about the views. I didn't care about any subscribers or anything like that. And if I continue with that attitude and just continue with the interviews and hearing people's stories and sharing those stories, that's something that I want to do. And that's something that I was kind of starting to become passionate about starting, I think, last year. And so the second episode is actually with Tony from Urban City, and then it kept going from there. And and that's what I'm going to continue to do. Of course, this quarantine kind of pulls the full stops on that right now. But that's what it's going to be like in the future, is more focused on sharing stories of other people, documenting experiences of what other people are doing with their builds, with their automotive shops, their speed shops, stuff like that. Share these people's names because they deserve that. They deserve that recognition. So that's what I'm focused on right now.
Right. It's kind of the no fucks given approach to video making, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and
just like my camera's set up here in the garage, no fucks given. But hey, in the future, this puppy is going into a 2001 Mustang, so you'll see more content about that.
Awesome. Now your approach is a little different, I think, than some of the others too, in that you're typically not in your videos, right?
Ever. No, actually, this is probably the only time that you see my face on a screen. So, because I hate showing my face, man. I mean, I used to stream on Twitch and stuff like that. That didn't really take off. I tried all sorts of different ideas, but hey, you can't give up on trying new things, as I say, or as anybody with a right head on their shoulders would say. You know, you keep trying, you keep doing different things to see what really works for you. And camera to my face doesn't work for me usually. So, and I've accepted that. Maybe I will become more comfortable with it in the future, but it's not something right now in the cards.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool. Good stuff. Okay, Elia, let's go to you. You know, again, obviously your channel's near and dear to me. We've done a few different videos together. You know, last summer we met at some point. I don't remember the exact moment that we met, but we've already had a lot of fun together, definitely.
We sure have.
Situations, yeah.
Yeah, so my channel's a little bit of a weird story. We used to do a lot of ATV vacations when I was younger, and I've always had a passion for photography and video. So I just kind of started just dumping them on YouTube. And I really enjoyed making videos more so than photography. So I kind of put photography on the back burner. And when I got my Genesis, it's a very small niche community, and nobody was making videos on it. So I said, why the hell not? Might as well post videos of the Genesis. There's people talking about silly things about air intake flaps, about how there was a huge argument online with something very irrelevant. So I did a test, and I kind of gained a big audience, a Genesis audience from that. So I just kind of kept going on with that. And when I started my new job, I got promoted and kind of slowed down the videos. But lo and behold, my boss was actually doing his own YouTube channel with movie reviews. So it's been like 3 years where we're kind of pushing each other to kind of make videos and be consistent every week. And then one day I meet some big players in the Chicago scene, and my channel's been kind of gaining traction ever since. So that's kind of the backbone of my channel.
Awesome. Yeah, I think as we get into the discussion on equipment and on editing, I'm really interested to kind of hear, you know, some background on what you're doing. I think the stuff you're doing with the virtual assistant on your videos and everything, I mean, a lot of people are talking about that. I think it's a really cool feature in the graphics and whatnot. So I'm, you know, without you necessarily maybe giving away all the secret sauce, I'm kind of curious on what you're doing there and whatnot, because it's a really different approach, but I think it's bringing, you know, kind of a data overlay onto your content, you know, and I think it's also, again, what I think you're bringing that is kind of your own spin, in addition to the fact that you bridge a lot of different niches, because you are doing ATV videos, you're doing some fix it type of videos and, like, you know, do it yourself kind of stuff, as well as doing car events, as well as doing like photo shoot kind of ride alongs and stuff like that. So I think you're sort of, you know, kind of going multifaceted in that way, which I think is a smart approach, because it gives you a lot of different avenues to explore, obviously. So from that standpoint, I think that works really well. And yeah, looking forward to hear a little bit more about how you do what you do here shortly.
Sure.
Okay, so then Tony, we'll go to you last. And your situation's a little different, obviously, because you're not really, you know, a YouTuber per se, but you put on events, you do a ton of stuff on social media. So I'm just kind of curious to kind of hear your backstory, how you got into that, and let everybody kind of understand kind of the kind of stuff that you do.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not against it. If it happens, awesome. But I was just a kid throwing car meets in the community, and it progressed into car shows and now track events. And I've just used YouTube to showcase what we're doing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I'm starting to show some of my projects that I'm doing now. I'm doing a Fast and Furious Supra build, so I'm also showcasing that on YouTube. And you know, it's just looking to gain traction. It's definitely a hard platform, and learning every day.
Awesome. And again, I think another thing that kind of makes you unique in the group, you know, is that you are putting on events and everything. So I think that certainly with the current circumstances, I'm curious to kind of get your thoughts as we kind of get talking here about, you know, things in the COVID-19 era, but also I think even just generally as it relates, you know, to doing that kind of stuff. I'm planning to do a future episode on that, and we're going to talk about that before. I know you and I have kind of discussed that a little bit, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts on what this year's going to be look like, what you might kind of see, and kind of your thoughts from a social media standpoint.
Right. I mean, car season's finally here, and now we can't even drive our cars. So it's sort of like, you know, especially in my situation where I'm trying to get these events going, trying to gather the community and get everybody together. And, you know, not we all have, but some of us that do have sports cars or nice cars that we like to take out, there's nothing really to do. I mean, I find myself, you know, going and doing, I don't know, an errand just to drive the car, you know, and I want to experience and fulfill that urge more. And the only way that I found that to get accomplished was on the track or actually doing something with the car. As you know, I remember when I went to my first car show, I thought it was the best thing ever. I mean, that was the only car show I went to in the whole summer. And I remembered it like if it was yesterday. And I sort of just want to bring that experience to everybody that has a sports car, that wants and needs to drive it the way it should be driven. And like I said, it started off as car meets, progressed into car shows, and I just still needed to find that itch of, okay, what else can we do? What else can we bring? And YouTube has just been awesome to showcase that. So yeah. I mean, COVID-19. Oh man, what are we gonna do? I mean, the shows that we're looking to do at Autobahn, they've been awesome with communication. I've been talking to the GM over there almost every other week, trying to figure out, you know, is the show in August is that gonna keep going? You know, are we still pushing for that? And we have another one in September.
Yep.
And it's scary, you know, it's scary, it's upsetting. If it comes to the point where it's not open to the general public, but we could at least get the racers on the track and still try to do some kind of social distancing, like that's okay. I'm okay with that. But, you know, we won't know until the time comes.
Like Ferraris versus Corvettes.
Yeah.
Social distancing.
I mean, whatever they will allow us to do as far as making sure everyone's safe, but we're still able to get out on the event, I'm all for it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's tough times. It's going to be a weird car season for sure.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I'll kind of tip my hand here a little bit, but I think as the season gets going, I'm kind of one of those people where I'm up for anything. And yeah, I want to get out there and, you know, I obviously want to get out and get driving. I want to go to car shows. I want to meet up with my buddies and do cruises, and I'm open for track events. And as the season goes on, it's like car meets are like okay, but at some point, like when you've been to one like every other weekend
right.
for like 3 months, you're like, I kind of done that, you know. I mean, like every now and then you see a car and you're like, holy cow, you know. I mean,
right.
but generally speaking, you're kind of like, you know. But track days, cruises, as long as you're kind of go out and go to interesting places, like those are things to me, like that's what really gets my blood pumping. I mean, like, because it's getting out and driving the car, and whether you've got somebody with you, you know, like me and Elia, we did a night cruise last year with some of the B-Road guys and some other guys around here, and I mean, that was crazy, man. I mean,
insane.
Like we drove out from the Northwest Burbs to downtown, and good speeds were reached. Let's put it that way. And there was a lot of fun there, and that was what it was all about for me. You know, doing stuff like that, like that's what gets you excited, because it's the closest thing I get to do around here to like going on a rally or something, which is also a lot of fun, but that's a multi-day commitment, and you know, blah blah blah. So okay, great. So now we've talked a little bit about everybody's channel and kind of their background. So thanks for that. So let's kind of transition a little bit to how you do what you do. I'm interested to kind of know a little bit, you know, from the YouTubers on the panel, I guess, you know, in terms of like your camera setup or the types of equipment that you use, you know, the number of cameras you use and things. Like I'm kind of curious to kind of get some high level view of what's the type of equipment that you guys are shooting with and how you make your content. So, you know, AJ, from your standpoint, kind of what's your story there?
Yeah, so when I first started YouTube, I mean, you want to talk about a base of all idiots, that was definitely me. I had nothing. I mean, you're talking filming almost with literally a phone, and I was using Windows Movie Maker to like make the videos, which was just atrocious even to go back and watch now. But you know what? I leave it up there as a point because I guess I want people to know you can start anywhere. Not that I've made it to where I necessarily want to be, but you can continually progress, but you have to start somewhere. So
Yeah.
I transitioned from that. I bought a Canon camcorder. You know, that was okay for a little while. And then people were like, hey, your audio sucks. And I was like, I couldn't agree more. You're right. I need a mic. So then I got a mic. And finally they're like, yeah, your camera is and I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. So then I finally started making a little bit of revenue off of YouTube. So then I basically put that straight back into the channel, and that was to make a little bit higher quality. So then I bought a Canon T6i off of a buddy, which is sitting right here. And, you know, you see a lot of YouTubers with this, some not so fancy, which to be honest with you, it's above my pay grade. I'm not that great with the camera. But long story short, it does a lot better. The mic, the quality's there. And then as far as my editing process, like I said, I started in Windows Movie Maker. And then I eventually progressed into iMovie because I was like, you know what? I need a better computer. The render time was atrocious. So then I went to Best Buy and I spent $2,600 and got a great Mac to edit, which was all fine and good. And, you know, iMovie was okay. And it was a step better than Windows Movie Maker, don't get me wrong. But then finally people were like, hey, you know, if you really want to take it to the next level, you really need to use, you know, Final Cut Pro or, you know, Adobe Premiere. So I eventually got Adobe, and that's kind of what I'm using now. Every video I try to continually progress. You know, other YouTubers that film tutorials, hats off to them, because that's 100% how I've learned. So that's kind of where I'm at in the progress. And then now, you know, as far as cameras, I've got that camera that I, you know, vlog with. And then I use a DJI Spark for my drone. And I just have a GoPro Hero 5 Black for action stuff on sports cars or exhaust notes or whatever.
Awesome. Okay. Very cool. Okay. Elia, let's go to you and kind of your setup.
Yeah, so my story is kind of super similar to AJ's. I started with I sniped a used, I think it was like a Hero 3 on eBay. And when I got it, the screen didn't work, but it recorded. So I did a lot of my ATV videos not knowing what the hell I was recording. But then I kind of advanced to a Canon. I used that it was like a T5i. I used that for like 3-4 years. And then I switched over to this bad boy. It's a Sony A7 III, way better than Canon. Sorry, Anthony. But I've been using that as my running gun. And then I use a Hero 4 and a Hero 5 Black for like car mounted shots and a drone that I never use because it's a pain in the ass to set up. So, oh, and for all the software, I got a 5K iMac with education pricing. So I got the bundle of Final Cut Pro and Motion 5 and compressor. So all the video editing is done in Final Cut. All the graphics and the transitions and stuff are all custom in Motion 5. I'm still kind of learning that. It's a very difficult program to learn, but yeah, all of the Karen stuff, if you will, and the transitions and all the special effects are done in Motion, and then all the video stuff is done in Final Cut. So I have to ask, like, why'd you call it Karen? So it wasn't a video. It's an app. So in the text-to-speech app, her actual name is Karen. So I came up with an acronym. So she's kind of artificial real-time engaged intelligence. That's her name, but that's her actual name in the app. So I didn't make that up.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I mean, for those viewing that haven't seen, you know, Extalgic videos, I mean, the video overlay, like, you know, it's got this kind of pseudo robotic voice and kind of graphics that kind of come up in future episodes. Again, I'll be able to splice in video, so I apologize that I can't do that yet. But really, it's just elevating it to a new level and kind of layering that into spontaneous content when people are drag racing or out cruising and whatnot. It's just really cool stuff and really taking it to another level. So, yeah, I mean, it's something. Yeah, I have told you, like other random guys I know that we kind of, you know each other through, you know, just said like, wow, it's just the coolest thing. So absolutely,
it's definitely a love-hate thing.
I'm sure. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about, my fledgling setup. I'm very much a beginner and kind of still kind of back in the dark ages of some of the stuff, but I'll talk about my perspective a little bit here, but we'll carry on, but thanks a lot for that.
Sure.
So Anthony, how about from your standpoint?
For me, well, because I have a film background and what I do is film for a living. I mean, I'm using things that most people wouldn't be using, which is Canon 1DX Mark II, with all sorts of a range of lenses. What's nice about the lens that I use, though, I just keep one lens on for the most part. I don't really like hauling around all my lenses in a backpack and whatnot. And the camera battery lasts all day, but the camera lens that I use is 15 to 30 Tamron, and for anyone who has any type of Canon, even a crop frame camera Canon, I don't know if the T6Is, or I don't know if those are crop frame, I believe, or full
Yeah.
frame. Yeah, okay. So, I mean, that would help put an awesome, just full, it's just going to change the look of a stock lens to a more professional lens. All lenses are very expensive, so you got to kind of pick and choose. To get into the Sony and Canon, if you're a beginner and you don't have much gear, like Extalgic just said, he has the A7 III. I would go, if you're going to get a Sony, I would go that route. A7 III or something better. Reason being is the ones that are like the A6300, A6000, stuff like that, like those tend to overheat, unfortunately, in the summertime. So some of the Sony cameras can overheat. That might challenge you in perspectives. For editing, I use Final Cut Pro X. I feel like that's the easiest, most basic thing, editing program that you could easily learn. It's very basic for amateurs to use, and you can make very quality video productions with that program. It's a one-time purchase of $300 and you never have to pay again. I know Adobe, it's a ongoing monthly payment for life pretty much. So it's a nice program to use. And I mean, yeah, that's the camera gear that I work with.
That's the magic, huh?
That's the magic.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you though, I mean, obviously, I mean, when you're out kind of doing spontaneous, content and everything, I mean, you're a slave to your conditions and everything, but seeing the set work that you do with, some of your non-car content, I mean, it's really dialed in, man. I mean, like just the smoothness of it and the richness of it, I mean, is really, it's
yeah.
evident,
So for what you're seeing right now, just because I'm not in, I'm at home, so I have my light.
Yeah.
Figured I'd throw my light in there, but it gives, if you have the time where you can take time to like have a lighting setup, all your stuff's going to be automatically way better. But do you have that time, or are you just on the go shooting? If you're just on the go shooting, just do whatever, just get the content. But if you have the time to, you have all the time in the world, you want to maybe film someone's car, like Jason, your car's coming out soon to the public pretty much. And I said, I want to take time to film a video for you. And just having that time, you'll see I'll be able to have my lighting gear set up. It's not just going to be like natural stuff. So it's going to make your videos pop a lot better when you're able to control the lighting scenarios.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Josh, how about you?
Okay.
I can come back to you if you'd like.
What's up? No. You're good, man. You're good.
Yeah.
So I guess it all started with the inspiration of some photography. But the gear that I use, and I still have my Nikon D3300, which is basically just a bridge camera from like 4 years ago. But probably even older than that. But what I use for that in video, it can't do the same stuff as like what other people have mentioned, right? With like maybe some smooth motion or having like even the, like I'm sorry, and I might chime in here with Canon and versus Sony stuff, but my next camera is actually going to be an A7 IV. Sorry, Canon people, but that's just going to have to be it.
Well, yeah, but you know what, Josh? I mean, but I'm right there with you from the standpoint that I mean, like I'm using a D5500 Nikon, okay, which is an old camera too, and like I can't shoot video with my camera. I use a little Osmo Pocket, you know, and have everybody look at me, you know, when I'm talking to my little, you know, the straw.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like, so you basically got to do fixed set video with that pretty much.
Right, exactly. Right? Well, because Nikon is not good with autofocus, especially that compared to like Canon and Sony, like they have autofocus like down pat. Nikon has always been great with photography. And that's where kind of like the inspiration all started was Nikon with photography. And then photography developed into kind of like trying to make videos. And then I noticed the challenges with Nikon on videos. So that's when I started investing in other things, right? So I still use my Nikon for videos for the interviews and stuff like that. And it looks great when I can get the lighting right, when everything else is just great with the world. But in other situations, it just doesn't work out so much. Like Nikon, I had a firmware issue where when I updated my firmware, everything was fixed, but I could not record video past 10 seconds for some reason because I had something going on with the camera. And actually, Tony is a first-hand witness to this with back-to-back episodes that I was recording for my channel. And as I always say, when in doubt, whip it out. And I don't mean that in an adulterated way, but I had my Galaxy Note 9. I set it up on my tripod, and you know what? We just did what
a Death
we
Rocket
could.
Episode, right?
What's that?
Was that with Death Rocket when you were talking to Connor?
Death Rocket and with Tony. Yeah. So I did them back to back, and my camera was messing up, and so I whipped out my Note 9, and I just said, you know what? We're gonna put a lapel mic on this, and we're gonna figure it out, man. And you know, it actually turned out okay. So I was actually kind of ecstatic with everything considering. The videos actually turned out okay. So, but this year, you know, as we already discussed with the pandemic and stuff, it kind of really puts a damper on things, especially when I have already invested in a top of the line GoPro. I think it was like well, this was before the 9 came out, but the GoPro Hero 8 Black. And then I went ahead and bought a DJI Mavic Pro Platinum. So, you know, when it kind of sucks when you invest that kind of money in stuff and then all of a sudden you can't use it, you know? But this summer, I'm hoping that there's a little bit less restrictions and I can actually get into using some of that stuff. I have the iPhone that's a work phone, but I can use it for video if I need to. And then with my Note 9, and I've learned some things from other YouTubers on how to do multiple cameras, even if the cameras are different, although it is preferred to have the same brand. So it all looks the same and the colors look the same. But I would like to do for the interview pieces to kind of give it a little bit more oomph per se. That way we can use a little bit multiple cameras and angles and kind of make it a little bit better and more interesting to watch as we listen to the person's build story, not just B-roll footage. So that's what I'm using. And then more onto like the software that everybody else mentioned. Yes, I started out with DaVinci Resolve for their free trial or whatever. And actually they're kind of the underdog because there's a lot of people in even Hollywood that uses that. But it was kind of a learning curve. And on top of that, it can't use GPU for rendering. And I rely on video cards to actually make the rendering a little bit more easy, I guess, or make it render faster, more efficient. So with the Adobe software, I said, you know what, forget it. I pulled the trigger. I got Adobe Premiere, After Effects, Photoshop, Lightroom, the whole freaking kit and caboodle. And I just said, you know what, this works. So
Yeah.
I've been having a great time with Premiere, learning new things. I'm not a professional in any means. This is not my first job, you know, like this is a secondary thing for me that I just love doing. I don't necessarily get paid for doing it. Maybe one day, but you know, but there are people that I've been involved with in the community that have been, you know what, you're you're out here sweating and you're out here doing stuff, man. Like this is, you know, we're just gonna go ahead and give you you know, a hey, thank you, you know, and they'll, you know, wire transfer me some money, and I appreciate that from anybody that I've ever dealt with. But I don't do this for money. I don't do this for anything. This is just something that I love, and I love the community that has really opened up their arms to me being involved with them. I'm not the best out there, and I'm surely not, but I am surely not the worst. And some of these other guys on this panel, I actually have seen their YouTube channels, and man, they're like fucking, excuse my language, light years ahead of me on some of this stuff. Especially Exaltic, kind of a shout out to you, buddy. But
Appreciate it, dude.
But you know, you see some of these other channels, and it kind of inspires you to do a little bit better and better on your own. So
absolutely, yeah. And I'm definitely in that category, and thanks for that. I mean, like, I'm definitely in that category because again, I'm new to this, and yeah, not advanced in video editing and all of that. And you know, and again, kind of been building up my catalog of equipment, and I'll get into that in a minute. But Eddie, how about you? I mean, I think your style and everything, as I kind of interpret it, I mean, it's kind of a very kind of, you know, brutal kind of fact-based, you know, not necessarily effect heavy and that sort of thing. So kind of what's your setup and how you're approaching it?
So equipment wise, I started way early too, long time ago, literally Costco T5i, Canon T5i with the kit lens. And I used that for a staggeringly long amount of time, far beyond, I mean, the channel grew and I've used like 5Ds and I had friends who had like Sony cameras and stuff like that. But finally, just recently got around to upgrading to Sony A7S II. So I went wireless, got some nice lenses, and then gone through GoPros from like Hero 4 Black all the way up to, I don't think I have the 8, I have a 7 right now. Audio stuff. And yeah, I like the cinematics, so it's nice, clean, and professional, but nothing crazy over the top. Learned Premiere Pro, started off initially on Cyberlink Power Director, which was a Windows, because I mean, never could afford to have an Apple computer really. So Final Cut Pro is out the window for that. Because I forget who said something about it's only $300 one time, but you do have to buy a very expensive Apple laptop, which I had, I mean, Windows stuff. So, but recently I have started putting a little bit more money into, I built a new, well, I had my friend help me build a editing PC. So it's got a nice GPU, good AMD Threadripper processor, got a really nice curved monitor and Premiere Pro. And again, yeah, the self-teaching like you guys, Googling things, learning things. I remember very distinctly early on during editing, I used to, when you have 3 or 4 different, like 2 GoPros and then 2 lapel mics or whatever, I was manually syncing them up. So I'd listen to it and just like move it forward 1 frame, move one forward 1 frame, just to get it to line up until I remember very distinctly learning about the tool that you can select all of them and just hit auto and it synchronizes the waveforms on its own. I was like, what? So I wasted a lot of time doing that. But you kind of pick up the tricks and the shortcuts and it gets a lot faster. But in terms of gear, I mean, I'm constantly figuring out what new to buy for vlogging. I know some of you guys have cameras that use for that mainly. My G7X has paid for itself like 25 times. It's pretty popular with guys, and they're on like Mark III now. And I still have my Mark I, and it's great. It's compact. Put it in my pocket, goes wherever. Put a little tripod thingy. So that's been pretty good too. But whoever was using a 1DX, I am envious of that. That's pretty damn awesome. I would love to have even crazier gear and things like that, but just making the best that I can and continuing to just push the quality.
Cool. Well, yeah, and being new, and I know I've told, you know, Elia and a couple of other people this before, and they probably laugh about it, but it's like that's my editing studio, my phone. Every video I've ever made for my YouTube channel, I've made on my phone.
That's more impressive.
I use Enlight Video Leap, which is a very bare bones a suite I always get a phone with a crap load of storage, mainly because I have tons of music that I like to store on my phone because I'm old and I don't stream stuff. Because I'm living the R8 life, and like you gotta be simple. so anyway, Video Leap is really cool though, because I load all my stuff in there. I've made my, hell, I mean, like, sitting in the passenger seat of a car, sitting in a cab, sitting on a plane, wherever, I'll make video in there, and it's really simple. It's a very basic in terms of its capabilities, but I really love it, and it's pretty easy to work with. Beyond that, as I said, I've got an Nikon camera for when I'm, I pretty much only use that if I'm doing, straight up photography. I don't use it for any kind of video anymore, just because I've got other tools. I use the DJI Osmo Mini, which is a really small little camera that's got a gimbal built into it and everything, and that's pretty handy when you're doing selfie video or when you're shooting other stuff. Although it doesn't have as wide of an angle as I would like, unfortunately. So it's like if you're doing selfies, you're always like that, and when you're shooting other stuff, you're always trying to stand further back. But again, I balance that with the convenience of throwing it in my pocket, kind of like you were talking about, Eddie, and it's so convenient. I've also got a GoPro that I want to use more. I just got it at Christmas time and I haven't even used it yet. I tried to bring it to the spring cruise and it was too damn cold to use any of my videos, any of my cameras outside mounted on the car. So I just gave up on that. Now, the thing I wanted to bring up though is I've got a 360 cam. Now, I don't think any of you guys are using 360 cams, not that I'm aware of, right? Anybody?
Nope.
Have experience with that? It's a cool camera, Elia, you've probably seen some of my footage from some of the stuff that we've done on there. And the cool thing of it, obviously, is that you can get really neat panning shots and stuff like that. And it has unique capabilities, absolutely. But the downside of it is like you lock yourself into the Insta360. That's the type of camera I have. But you lock yourself into their editing suite and you have to edit, cue everything up for it to do the proper sweeping and basically to be looking at the proper direction where you want it at any point in the video and everything. And you also cut it up in there and then you finally export that out. And actually Nicola, who's helping us out with the video, he's the one who inspired me to get this camera. So I thank and hate him all at the same time for it. But
you're welcome.
No problem, buddy. But the thing, I think that was actually the Osmo now that I think about it. But anyway, it might have been both of them. But the 360 cam, it's so cool, but it is a lot of work to edit that video. And that's also kind of part of why I make most of my other videos on my phone as well, just because it's just a really time consuming process, and being a dad and working and everything else. I mean, it's hard to find the time to do this stuff. So I'm sort of trying to squeeze 10 pounds of stuff into the 5 pounds of my life here, if you will. It's just kind of hard to kind of make it all work. So that's how I'm doing stuff right now. But something I wanted to touch on off the back of this conversation was, and Elia, I'm particularly interested in your perspective on this. It's very hard to, when you're doing cruises and moving cars and that sort of thing, it's very hard to convey the actual experience of driving. Okay. I know from like all the footage I had from Crown Rally, and I've got Rad Garage, I've got Rick on watching the video, who was my co-driver in there. What's up, Rick? Check out his channel for some serious detailing corn, by the way. But anyway, when you're on something like a rally or a cruise and you've got POV footage of that, whether it's a 360 cam, a GoPro, it doesn't matter. It's just not as interesting. You know, it can be kind of downright boring. You'd be going 120 miles an hour and it can be boring to watch.
You got to blow the speedo. So I just did a POV video. First of all, let me just say it's incredibly stupid to film while you're driving. It's like you said. So the way that I do POV is I have a custom mouth mount. So I stick the GoPro in my mouth, and the GoPro is like sitting right here. So it's difficult to see, but because the GoPro has such a wide point of view, and your head is a natural gimbal, it's not as immersive as opposed to if you had like a DSLR. But it's extremely difficult to portray speed and potential action while you're driving. I don't know how to mitigate that, to be honest. I just continue to stick the GoPro in my mouth and hope, the sounds of the cars is enough. But like you said, it's extremely difficult. Oh, there you go.
You could do the headband.
That looks awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could do the headband though, no?
And I don't think a lot of people know that. Yeah, that people have got those mouth mounts, or they've got a hat mount. Sometimes people clip it on their hat visor, or they wear a headband or something like that.
I have the stretchy.
So the problem.
Yeah,
I got that too.
This way,
the problem with the head strap, it's too high up on your head, so it'll sit higher and you'll kind of get part of the headline, and that's why there is a chest mount, but that's too low, and you don't get panning with your head.
No, when you
so I just made a custom mount mount.
You just put another link there. So mine sits right here, like right in between my eyes.
Yeah,
that's usually where I put it. But it does look tall because I'm 6'3", so the angle is
and
the problem with the mouth mount is you can't speak. There's no commentary if it's in your mouth. So that's the only issue.
So, and I've had the opposite problem in that last year when I got the 360 cam, I was running that on the roof a lot. And it was really cool because I had my race livery on, and I would be able to pan across my B-Road banner on my roof when I would do video and stuff. And I really liked that kind of stuff. But the other challenge was all my audio was just, the whole time. And so then I was like, okay, I can get a mic, but then like somebody was saying, like, I'm gonna have to sync audio up with my video, and like, God, I could go jump off a cliff and have more fun, So then it's like, okay, how are you gonna deal with that? And this year I tried to do a video for the Spring Cruise. Actually, I took my GoPro and I mounted that on a mount inside my car, but I was in the e-tron, so it's not like I have any engine noise anyway. So I'm still kind of trying to dial in what's going to be the best setup, because like you said, I don't really want to hold it. I don't typically tend to do talking, and in the new car, it wouldn't matter if I talk, I won't be able to hear it anyway. But I want to figure out how to sort of have the best balance of engine noise, ambient noise from other cars, and the video. And the 360 is kind of good from being able to sort of pan and kind of get some motion, but it's really hard in a fixed point of view to just convey, how fun it is.
I agree.
Yeah. So that can be a big challenge, but okay. So, a couple of things came up that, I wanted to touch on. A couple of people mentioned drones. So drones are interesting to me. I've only had the chance to be at a couple of shoots that we've done with like Josh Merzel and some guys like that, where, they brought the drone out, and Mayor Speck and those guys. We did a shoot last year. Tony, me and you were there with some other people out at St. James, which turned out really cool.
I remember that. That was awesome.
But it's the kind of thing like Josh or Elia was saying. I don't remember who. Like drones are cool, but it's like you got to get it out, you got to set it up, you got to fly it. Is it too windy? Do I have a headache today? I'm not really sure. And I guess what's the perspective there? Because I think there's so much potential there in terms of footage and again, being able to do follows of cars and stuff. But I'm kind of in awe when, I see like a Stradman video or like a Clayton Stark who was on last week, I'll see them doing drone footage, and you realize, I don't think the casual viewer thinks about the fact that like, okay, that wasn't just like them on a whim, like put the drone up and la la la. That was probably a couple of hour effort, and they're redriving that road and doing all the stuff and setting it up, and it's a process.
Okay, I have a rebuttal to that.
Okay,
all right, go ahead. No, all right, fine. I'll go ahead. Fine, I'll take over. So, I would highly recommend a DJI Mavic Pro. You can get a bag like this, very simple. You just pull all this stuff out, and literally your drone just comes out like this. Unfold, 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 and then undo the propellers. You're all set. You're ready to fly. I mean, with the phone, but if you have like a controller, it might be a little bit more difficult because then you got to set up the controller. But I do recommend the controller. But I do recommend the controller because,
What's that, Elia?
I said my drone's about 100 years old, so it takes like 30 minutes to set up. That's why I don't. That's why I don't use it.
No. The only reason why I bought this thing was because of how easy it is to set up, and then you get a little controller. You can basically mount your phone onto it, and you're ready to rip, tater chip.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's gone at that point. And then it has all these automatic modes where you can subject track, so it follows the subject that you're actually trying to film. Has a nice carrying case. I have like 4 extra batteries on this thing, so it's wonderful. I highly recommend this thing.
Yeah, they are advancing and they are fantastic. They're also pretty darn expensive too, unfortunately, and that's not an
unfortunately, yeah.
You know, a lot of the cameras that you guys are talking about are obviously multi-$1,000, pieces of equipment.
The 1DX Mark II is only a one-time payment of $6,000.
Hey,
without any glass.
It up for you though.
One-time payment. Just one time. That's kind of how I feel about
drones. Has always been the registration, all the regulations, and all that. You got to be very careful of that because the fines could be serious. And then also, you live close to an airport, the no-fly zones, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but those super fast drones, those are different than the ordinary drone. I mean, some of these guys are like professional sports speeding drone flyers, and I mean they're going crazy speeds, keeping up with these cars, doing crazy twists and turns, and I mean that's on a whole other level.
Yeah, and those ones are all, that's all flight too. Like there's no like custom like automatic mode that they're doing or anything like that. Right. They're actually flying those drones that way. Right, they're all custom built, and they're like these guys deserve some quiche, doing that stuff. I mean that's some of these I see the flight. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean the talent obviously is there to not bang the thing. I mean, I know at our spring cruise there was a little mishap with the drone. I know I saw somebody mention it in the comments that somebody in this land 12 years saying somebody ran one into a car at Cars and Coffee. I mean, there's definitely that side of it that's really concerning because there's obstacles around power lines and trees and different kinds of things, and it definitely is worrisome that you're going to have something. And some people are also talking in the feed about battery life. Again, from the standpoint of using GoPros, especially my 360 cam, I'm living my life 30 minutes at a time, I do my little drive, I'm monitoring it. I literally, when I mount my 360 cam, I've got the preview feed of it up on my phone in my car, and I start seeing that battery get low, I'm pulling over and I'm out changing the battery and resetting it up. And yeah, it's cool, but it's a pain in the ass, and with the drone, I guess, I mean, again, it's kind of a set piece kind of thing, but you're only getting max 20 or 30 minutes. I think max 20 minutes out of a battery. So
yeah, especially if you're flying fast. Yeah.
And if it's windy out. If it's windy out, it kills it.
Yeah. Wind is I think the big scare there too, I think, as far as how controllable is it going to be? Are you going to have any problems? So yeah.
I will say out of my experience, if you have high winds that day, anything over like 10-mile-an-hour winds, you're gonna probably have a bad time with your battery life. Anything over 20 miles an hour, you probably should not even be, excuse my French, fucking flying that thing because you will crash it into something.
Yeah.
I mean, the sensors are great, but they don't do it for you. Just like self-driving cars, they're not all perfect either. So.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Okay. So let's transition back, kind of away from equipment a little bit, and let's kind of talk about, again, based off of your guys' channels, or Tony, in the case of your events. I mean, like let's talk about your events for a second, since we've been kind of gear nerding out for a little bit here. In terms of the things you've put on, I mean, like what's been like your favorite event or the favorite thing that you've done, kind of through your history, kind of dealing with, promotion of events and kind of setting stuff up. Like what's been kind of the most rewarding experience you've had? Tell me a little bit about that.
I'm going to say out of all the events, I'm going to say the first track event that we were able to pull off last year at Autobahn, definitely made me open my eyes to, wow, like from car meets to now this. I never thought that I would be doing track events. Yeah, that's pretty much, you only get so much out of car shows and car meets, And don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against it. It's just putting the car on the track, you know, here in the car, smelling the burnt rubber, it's just a whole other experience, man. And I'm addicted. I just want to keep them going. So.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, Eddie, let's go to you next. I know you've got a run here soon, so I do appreciate you taking the time. You know, tell me a little bit about, like, you know, kind of what for you, what's been like your favorite piece that you've made for your channel, or you know, something that's, you know, really responded well, like, you know, kind of what's a personal favorite for you?
Like it was just said, track is gonna be probably one of the most fun things you can do with the car, especially if you get to track a car that's not yours. You don't need to worry about brakes and tires. I've been spoiled with that, whether it's one of those basic track experiences, like extreme experience of coming to town and be like, hey, you want to come out? I'm like, sure, film a video, track a Ferrari, that's fine. Or probably one of the highlights, one of my favorite things I've ever done because of YouTube, recently was invited to go on the C8 media launch. So one of the first people in the world to drive a Stingray. And they flew us out to Vegas, staying on the strip, and we went and did a road drive in the beautiful Valley of Fire by Lake Mead, and just like cruising in these back roads, amazing scenery, got some excellent footage, in-car review. And then the next day we go to Spring Mountain and we're doing autocross, launch control, and then tracking them. So got a good amount of laps chasing down a C7 ZR1. You're pushing it to the limit, making the video on that. That was absolutely amazing. And outside of that, events, that nothing can come close to comparing to the Monterey Car Week. Monterey Car Week is absolutely the best thing. Unfortunately, this year, due to the pandemic, Pebble Beach was just canceled and things are starting to fall. But that's the only place in the world where you're going to be able to see 3 F40s parked in a row, 3 F50s go by. I saw 12 LaFerraris in one day, 8 Koenigseggs, anything from classics to muscle cars to exotics. Monterey Car Week is probably one of the coolest things I've gotten to do via YouTube, go there, film, attend some of the events. That is a highlight, and I absolutely recommend everybody go and experience it after things go back to sort of normal, I guess, and whatever happens in the future.
Yeah. No, that's very cool, man. I was gonna mention that you did the C8 launch event. Did you get to meet Shmi?
Yeah, we talked. I've met him a couple times. We've known each other for a while, and I guess he was looking and he realized he hadn't subscribed to me. So we're just standing in a lounge before we went to dinner, and he just comes up to me and goes, Eddie, look at this. And he like has my channel up on his phone screen. He goes, I'm gonna subscribe. And he hits subscribe, and I'm like, this is awesome. I got it on video. I've known him for a while. He told me about his SLS Black Series that he was buying. Actually, he didn't tell me. He told me he was getting a new car. I'm like, oh, what is it? He goes, I can't tell you. I'm like, Tim, I'm not going to tell anybody. And he's like, there was a video in his British accent. I can't imitate that. He's like, there was a video I made, and it's one of them. Just scroll through my video. So I'm on his channel, like scrolling. I'm like, I don't see any like this. No,
one of my videos every single day.
And he's like, he's so amused. He goes, no, you passed it. I'm like, I passed it. And he goes, you're getting warmer. I'm like, oh my God, Tim. Mentioned it. I'm like, oh, SLS Black Series. And he goes, yeah, got it. And he's getting painted blue. So, yeah. So it's been networking is one of the coolest things. Getting to meet these other guys. Yeah.
Yeah. No, very cool, man. I appreciate it. And then, like I said, I know you got to drop soon, so thanks a lot for coming on again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Well, you guys, I look forward to seeing you guys once we're allowed to, and we can do car things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Elia, let's go to you, and what's kind of been a highlight for you?
So the best thing by far with the YouTube thing is the opportunities, the kind of the big players that I've met. But the single piece of content that was like kind of like shocking when it was happening, and nobody watched that fucking video, but we had stumbled upon a abandoned airplane in the middle of nowhere. And Tim was able to get Jeremy Cliff out with a Lancia, like 2 vintage rally cars, a Lancia Integrale and a Audi Quattro UR, and we did a whole photo shoot in front of this abandoned plane, and we were hooting it around. It was fucking awesome. Like, just thinking back, like right now, that was fucking awesome. Like, that would have never happened if,
that sounds like a
YouTube wasn't a thing. Dude, it was insane. Yeah, there it is. That's the one that nobody watched right there.
Well, we're watching it now. Yeah, everybody go check that out for sure.
Insane day.
That was very cool. I mean, yeah, I mean, the stuff that you guys have done since kind of incorporating that runway that you've got access to and everything has been a really cool kind of series, and kind of seeing the different takes you've had on that and people driving it with snow on it and everything else.
Oh yeah. That airstrip is a blast for sure.
Yeah. We'll have to get out there. I'll have to see if it's long enough for me. But...
Sure. I don't think so.
Okay. Anthony, how about you?
I'm sorry, repeat the question. But
just kind of like, a favorite video, a favorite experience you've had through YouTube.
favorite video, I don't know if I've had a favorite video. I've been inspired by the bigger players, Vehicle Virgins and DDE have inspired some of the things that I do, and I took kind of what they did and made it my own. I don't really follow those guys anymore, but
yeah,
I don't know. What I like doing most is filming installations, filming a story, filming a rally. Like there has to be some type of thing to do. Yeah, because you've been mentioning before about car shows, like they're fun to go meet up, but that's about it. I'm always at car shows like, all right, like what do I film? Like, hey, here's this car, here's that car, and it's like, all right, cool, whatever. Like, unless it's like some crazy stuff that nobody's ever seen before, or if people are doing burnouts or something that's like out there. But yeah, man, I mean,
I get what you're saying. You obviously want it to have a point. You want it to be something engaging. I mean, perspective and situational like awareness, if you will, like those are the two things that again are so hard to convey. I think back to the last Supercar Saturday or Sunday last year, where I don't know out of you guys who was or wasn't there, but two Ford GTs showed up in the Golf livery, and it was like it was like like everybody stopped and was like, oh,
exactly. Yes.
And you can't convey that like you're hanging out, you're doing your thing, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, like I mean, that's the kind of stuff like with a car show that it is really tough, because there's not really any point. It's just here it is. It's like all eye candy, right?
Exactly. So it's nice to put together a story. That's why rallies are fun. There's a starting point, then there's the middle of driving together.
There's interaction with people and everything else. Yeah.
The ending of it all.
Occasionally there's a car accident. Those things happen. Anyway, we'll move on. Moving right along. That's an inside joke. So AJ, back to you, and thanks, Anthony. AJ, from your standpoint, kind of what's been kind of a content highlight for you?
So obviously, I think a lot of people whenever you're a kid, you idolize supercars, right? Go fast, like, some people don't. That's definitely me as a kid. Like, I don't even think I saw my first Lamborghini until I was probably 14, maybe. I mean, I didn't come up with money. My dad was an E5 in the Army. Eventually made his way through the ranks and retired as a command sergeant major. So to even just see the cars at a car show, I mean, I was blown away. So the highlight for me, probably by far, was a gentleman here at NCM, our local track. He had a McLaren 720S, and he was there by himself. He had nobody with him, and I just went up and asked him. I was like, "Hey, do you think I could ride with you on track?" And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely." He's like, "Just sign the waiver, let's go." And I was like, whoa, like I'd never been in anything even close to a car like that. And it was pouring cats and dogs. I mean, it was raining so hard, half the track was shut down. And he had winter tires on his McLaren 720S out there just tracking it. And the very first turn we come into, we're doing 120 miles an hour and pouring down rain, and I'm like, okay, I got my wish. I get to ride my car. This is the day I'm gonna die. 100%. This guy is a maniac. And so, you know, that was, you know, not only networking, but he was just excited to share the car with someone else that loves cars. And that was what was cool, along with riding in the car. But, you know, then I would say 6 months later, he ended up trading that car in and getting a GT2 RS. And he was like, hey, do you want to ride on the track with me with a GT2 RS? And I was like, it's not a McLaren, but sure, I'll ride, you know. And I'm not a big Porsche guy. You know, I know the GT2 RS is king. A lot of people would die to have that car, but never been a Porsche guy. But I'm going to tell you, I never thought I would be terrified on a track and want to get out of a car so fast in my life. That car, I had a 5-point harness on, and it wasn't enough. I mean, it just wasn't. I mean, it was just a freaking animal. And so I got to film that, you know, and that was cool too. But those are definitely the two highlights as far as that goes. And then meeting James, the Strad man, was definitely cool. You know, I've been watching his videos and kind of looked up to him, so it was kind of cool to meet him as well. But the experience of being in a car, definitely the best.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. Those GT2 RSs, Rick and I, we drove behind a guy, Brandon, that's got one on Crown, and yeah, those cars are monsters, man. They are awesome. I'm not necessarily a Porsche guy either. I mean, like, you know, they're all a little similar for me. I mean, I know that obviously the RSs have got the big wings and things, but they are certainly capable cars, to put it very mildly. Yeah, so that's very cool, man. Nice of that guy to obviously give you a ride. Those 720s obviously are no slouch. Those cars are mechanical wonders. Jesus.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you would have put $100 bill in the vent and said, if you can reach forward on full acceleration and grab that $100 bill, it's yours, I would have been like, okay. I mean, you couldn't have grabbed it. There's no way. I mean, the car is just so fast. It's crazy. Just hearing the turbo spool behind your head. I mean, the camera doesn't get that. It just doesn't. I mean, it's totally different in person. So.
Yeah. No, again, you know, perspective and that kind of stuff, you cannot grasp it. Rick and I always joke that when we got back from Crown, well, we drove with the windows open a lot, and my car literally had like 4 fingerprints indented on the roof from where Rick was like hanging on at the time, because my car doesn't have an oh shit handle, you know. And he was just rolling around on the tail of the Dragon and everything, and it was just, you know, it was crazy, you know. I mean, there's something you can do, but yeah, like that again. I look back at some of the dash cam footage and stuff I have of that, and I can remember times where we were so like just high with excitement. And you look at the video and you're like,
yeah,
nothing, you know, like you don't feel it again. You're like, I know what I felt like then, and I don't feel like that when I watch it back. It's just the strangest thing. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, in terms of, you know, we're kind of getting close to time here, obviously, because we've been kind of rolling on for a little bit, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time to meet up today. You know, I guess as you look forward to this summer and to what's going on with the current situation, I know we've certainly seen it here in the Chicago area that people are really hungry, you know, to get out, you know, for car content. They're hungry to get out there and drive, obviously, and you've had people doing really great things like these birthday drive-bys and stuff. You know, I know some of the Crown guys up in Minnesota, they have like, you know, hundreds of cars go by some kids' houses and stuff, you know, and just really getting into it. And I've seen it start to pop up here and in other places as well. And there's been cruises and things. And I think those have been going off kind of, you know, as a mixed bag, because it definitely, with the pics and the videos that people are posting, you can kind of tell some people are taking the situation seriously and some people aren't. And that's an individual choice. There's nothing any of us can do about it. I think even as an event planner, you're a little bit at the mercy of people behaving themselves, and, you know, it is what it is. So I'm really curious kind of what your guys' take are. I mean, like any thoughts on kind of how you're going to approach this year, or kind of any predictions or thoughts on what it's going to be like? I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like Tony, obviously you touched on it a little bit with the track events and kind of hoping it's going to play out, you know, and everything. But, you know, I mean, it's, you know, but as far as like, you know, what's your guys' thoughts? I mean, you know, you think we're going to get back to having shows this summer?
I mean, I'll just jump in real quick and then I don't know who else wants to follow, but I mean, I think no matter what way we look at it, it's definitely going to make an impact on the car community, on large gatherings, on car shows, car events. And it's unfortunate, but like I said, we're at the mercy of when these rules and laws are going to be lifted up, and making sure everybody's safe. And like I said, no matter what way we look at it, it's definitely going to be impacted this summer. So I'm just going to try to make the best of it. If this keeps getting prolonged, you might still see me out there driving the cars. So that's just me, though, on the DL.
Yeah. I mean, just to follow up on that really quick. I mean, I know, I take my family out for drives pretty much every weekend right now. I have been for probably the last month, and we go way the hell out west, kind of out in the Toolies, and I know that the rules on that I think are a little nebulous, because we basically leave the house, we drive, and we don't stop, and we come back, and we're in the car for 3 hours by ourselves, and it's like, it is what it is. And I don't know if that's exactly in keeping with the rules, but we're also not exposing anybody else to us and vice versa, So I don't know that there's a lot of harm in that. I don't know if that would necessarily be frowned upon by the establishment and whatnot. But I think when you start to talk about car meets where everybody's kind of out and about, I guess I would just, in my own little tiny way here, implore people to sort of take the proper precautions, because I don't think we don't want that to be looked upon negatively and, kind of give the car community a bad rap, but
so maybe
else? Go ahead.
I was going to say, so maybe not so many car shows or car gatherings this summer, but maybe a whole lot of car cruises. And so we should take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do something because of this situation happening right now, and none of us can control the rules that are being put on everyone. Maybe we could take car rallying one step further. I know that in these times, there's definitely people in need who are losing maybe supplies of some sort. Maybe we could do something as a community where it's like cruising, but we're also like fundraising to help people, where we make a group, see what the needs of the people are, and then go gather those things and make a cruise out of it. If we could help one another in these times where some people aren't as privileged as some of us are, then I mean, we can make an impact that way. I have like these ideas in my head, but obviously I can't do stuff like this like alone. We all need each other.
Well, it's not as hard as you would think it is. I mean, having done Rally 150 last year, and we raised, about $1,500 for Epilepsy Foundation at that time, and I was really proud of that. Like, it didn't go exactly like I wanted to. We had some things that we need to adjust if we're going to do it again, and given circumstances, we'll have to see if we do it this year or not. But it's not that hard to try to team with a charity and say, hey, everybody, let's try to donate. I mean, that was kind of easy because there was an online portal for people to put money in. I didn't have to sort of touch the money, which is something you want to be really careful with, obviously. But I think partnering with things like food pantries or things like that could be very beneficial and something that's very viable. And I think that's a great idea. And certainly I'd love to talk to you about it, because I'm into doing that kind of stuff. And I think it's a great cause. It makes a lot of sense, and I think anything we can do as the car community to give back and sort of repay the leniency we might ask people to have as we fly through their town, by trying to show that we at least mean well, and we want to go out and have fun, but we're not a bunch of assholes doing that, and trying to sort of bring both sides to it. So that's kind of my perspective on that, and I think it's a great idea. Any other perspectives on that?
I mean, I'll be honest, me and Natalia take every chance that we can get to take the cars out and go. We don't necessarily stop and get out and go anywhere. I think Jorby said it in the comments. I feel like there's no harm if there's no physical contact or transferring of any surfaces if you're in the car. So we kind of just take any excuse to take the cars out and drive. I feel as though car cruises should be, it's not necessarily about being irresponsible. It's like you said, Jason, I feel as though if we do have a gathering of cars for a cruise, it's it's painting a bad light on the car community. And I don't know if that's a good thing, but I know a lot of car guys are itching to get out regardless, so they might not care, but I'm all about cruises. That's just my opinion. I don't see the harm in that at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I'm totally all about it. I just think that, you know, people either got to be smart with either what they post online about it, or but more importantly, it's about health. You know, it's not about like criticizing people. You know, it's about health and just making sure that everybody stays safe. You know, and that's the biggest focus to me, because a lot of the people I follow, I see this and they're my friends, or they're people I know, and obviously I don't want them to get sick. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm coming from with it. Is I just want to see everybody stay healthy but still have a good time.
So I've thought about an idea last week, and that's actually sounded pretty stupid up until now. But it was more or less about gathering PPE, right? Face masks, gloves, things of that nature. Gloves are, I mean, let's face it, statistically, they're less important than the masks are to the public. But if you were to get masks for, you know, people in the medical field and stuff like that, if you arrange like a cruise where people are practicing that social distance, of course, nobody's like in tight circles talking about things and hanging out and saying, hey, what are you doing this weekend and stuff like that? Hey, let's go barbecue. But just to say, to gather up some of this equipment, and although I'm sure government officials are providing this stuff as is, but I have heard stories, because I have family members in the healthcare organization where they say they still just don't have enough and they have to reuse equipment. So in that aspect, I felt last weekend I had an idea like to set up like a car cruise and gather up some masks and stuff and just go deliver it to hospitals that actually need it, you know, things like that.
Yeah,
I felt it was a good idea.
If there's a supply chain for it, certainly, you know, it's just a matter of who has access to what, you know, and that sort of thing. And at the end of the day, while I'm not opposed to that, and obviously my hat's off, figuratively, you know, to healthcare professionals and what they're doing, you know, and it's a scary damn job. I mean, it's a scary job to be a checker at a grocery store right now, frankly, you know. But I think there's a lot of people that are unemployed, that don't have jobs right now, or are off of their job, and you know, food could be a challenge, or other types of necessities could be a challenge, and even just being able to obtain things like that, I think would be really cool and really useful. So I think there's a lot that we could figure out here, and you know,
I do completely agree with you there, because healthcare workers, they're getting the runt of it, and you know, these quote essential workers, you know, and when I say quote, I'm not trying to bash anybody. I do want to say that and be clear about it. My brother-in-law, he works for PepsiCo Frito-Lay, and let me tell you, if you need Doritos, man, you need to rethink your. But they just had a confirmed case, and it's like, but they don't like have like situations where they have like, you know, people
proper protection,
have a confirmed case, or people that are feeling sick. You know, they're not saying, oh, don't come in, you know, like, no, please do come in, even if you are sick. Like that's the wrong way to go about things. That ultimately kind of affects us as, you know, what we're trying to do here. You know, if you're not trying to stop that spread, then what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, I think without going fully down the rabbit hole, because we're not trying to do it.
Sorry.
Four beers in. But I think the key thing to kind of bring it back around, and like Elia, I know we've discussed this before, and it's kind of a Chicago thing, so forgive me, AJ, but like, you know, we've talked about the fact that, you know, whatever we can do to sort of bring the car community together and find ways to, you know, to rally, you know, figuratively, not literally, you know, I mean, like, and do things that are positive impact on the community. I think that's great. And I would certainly challenge all you guys, and would love to work with you guys and others that might be watching this or might see it, to figure out, you know, what we can do to put stuff together to help people, and also go out there and enjoy and, you know, bring forth our passion for our hobby, but also have it be something that does good for people, you know? So I'm excited to see what possibilities there are for that this summer and this year, given it's going to be a challenging one, no doubt about it. I mean, they just extended the quarantine here through the end of May. So, you know, we've got time to think about it and try to figure something out. So let's talk about it some more and figure it out. But But I do want to start to wrap up. We've been on here for a good while, and I do really appreciate all of you guys participating. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I just wanted to do a little bit of shout out to Jorby over here. He's in the chat. I do want to say, because we did discuss great content and favorite content and things of that nature, and I don't think I was able to mention something, but I know that Jorby and I do have shared mutual friendships throughout some circles, and some of my favorite content is through people, family and friends getting together and going for cruises and stuff. And I think that's one thing that I did appreciate on my channel was you know, people, family and friends getting together, having a good time, having breakfast, and then going out for a nice cruise. And there are some big names in there that were part of the cruise that are also on YouTube as well, and they have well-built vehicles. And I did want to give Jorby a shout out while he's in the chat. That he's all part of that friends and family too. So I just wanted to give that a good shout out. Sorry about that.
No worries. Fantastic. Yeah. We've crossed paths as well. So props to him. And to all you guys, thank you again so much for participating. I really appreciate it. It's been really fascinating for me to learn a little bit more about you guys, kind of behind the scenes, and how you came to do what you do, and kind of get your perspective on it, and also learn a little bit about how you produce your content. So thanks so much. And to everybody watching, obviously, thank you very much for tuning in, and you know, kind of for following along the chat and everything, and your input. And we'll be back next week with another episode. And thanks very much to everybody, and appreciate it. You guys have a good night.
Thanks, Jason.
Right, thanks, man.
Jason,
Thanks,
thank
man.
you.
Thank you.
All right, fellas.
Take care.
See you guys. Thanks for hopping on.
All right, guys. Good night.